Alright, guys, welcome to the Switched On Streams podcast with us, the Switched On squad. I'm Brennan Hoof, that's Pomster. Say hello.
G'day.
Alrighty, bit of a weird one this week. Bit of a weird one. I tried to find some stories that weren't going to be your big headlines that I thought we could talk about. So, the first one that I thought we should probably start with would be the Street Fighter 6 tournament that was shown on Twitch.
Right.
Now, when I saw this yesterday, their account was still active and they hadn't been banned as of yet. Well, up until the time that I saw this and made the notes. So it was on Corner to Corner's Twitch stream. And during their tournament, one of their finalists had forgotten to take off their naked mod for Chun-Li. And it took them a few moments to realise what was going on and how to deal with it before it finally cut away. I mean,
they're obviously just so used to having it on that they didn't notice for the first few seconds.
Well, because it was being commentated on, so the commentators didn't notice.
Yeah.
And the fighter just sort of kept going, and both fighters, you sort of see it. I watched the video on Twitter or X. I refuse to call it X. It's Twitter.
I think it's still kind of Twitter for now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's in the process of transitioning.
That's a whole nother story that we'll touch on in a sec. But you sort of see both fighters. They stop and hang on, are we still going? Are we supposed to be?
See the eyes widen.
if you're doing anything on Twitch, take your mods off, people. Especially if you're in a tournament. It's common sense. And I know sometimes you forget. You've seen me on this podcast. I forget stuff all the time. But I mean, that's a pretty big one. A pretty big one indeed. Well,
if you're taking part in a tournament,
if you see the video, a big pair. So admittedly, as the commentators do say when they cut away, the game is R18. You got to be over 18 to play it, so it's an interesting skin to be putting on.
I mean, even with these games released as they are, the female characters are certainly sexualized to a certain extent.
100%.
So it's easy to see why these mods exist in the first place.
And unfortunately, we're human. And, as long as we have thoughts and stuff like that, and they continue to sort of sexualize in one way or another characters within video games, anime, and stuff like that, there's going to be someone out there that's going to make mods or hentai or any of that sort of stuff.
Especially fighting games for some reason. I don't know why that is, but that certainly seems to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, there was that one for, what was it, Resident Evil Village? For Lady Damascu, I think her name was.
Dimitrescu, yeah.
Dimitrescu. That, she ran around naked, and I don't know why anybody would. Personally, I don't want to play the game that way.
But again, the character was obviously designed with, some of that stuff in mind.
Yeah, it had very. To be honest with you, the first thing that comes into my head when I think about who that character would sort of, you get that same sort of vibes from, all I can think of at the moment is Rhea Ripley over in WWE, giving that same sort of, you know, big domineering sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely an interesting way to start the week. But that then led me down the track of, okay, what little things can I find that have happened over the last month or two that we can talk about in the video game world. And one that I came up with was, or that I found, I should say, was a trucking company in the US, Schneider, buying billboards in Trucking Simulator to try and find new staff. Now, I hate ads in video games. I think we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But this has got to be a little bit of genius, doesn't it?
I suppose so, but yeah, I guess the principle of it is still the problem.
Yeah, but the way I'm looking
Why is it okay for them and not for others?
Yeah, I get it, and like I said, if I was to play the game and hadn't read the story, I'd probably see that billboard if I was playing Trucking Simulator and not even realise it was a real advertisement, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you would just assume that it's an in-game ad similar to, you know, all the billboards in GTA 5, for example.
But we're getting to a point, and you know, Microsoft have said it themselves that they're going to be looking at ways to put advertisements in games and all of that. And once upon a time, I could see how you could do it, like if you were to put them on loading screens. But we don't really have loading screens anymore. The technology's there that games are pretty fluid without them.
Yeah.
So unless, you know, it's stuff like this, I can't see how there's going to be too much advertisement added to in-game stuff.
And there will continue to be pushback from gamers, I'm sure, against that if it increases. So, yeah, look, I'm against it. I think most gamers probably are. To a certain extent, it's probably inevitable. Just like microtransactions are inevitable. But yeah, hopefully there will continue to be a pushback from gamers.
Well, that's another point. When does a microtransaction stop being a microtransaction? At what point? Like, Diablo 4 now has a set of armor that you can buy that's $23 in the US. I haven't had a look to see how much it is for us, but that's more than some DLC.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a microtransaction though, because I think usually a microtransaction is for you know, items that you're probably going to repurchase, or you're going to purchase items of a similar type again and again and again in order to become competitive in that game.
But then, like, do you count like V-Bucks and stuff like that as microtransactions, or shark cards in GTA?
Yeah, shark cards are microtransactions, definitely. So I don't think the price is really the main determining factor. It maybe does kind of factor into it somewhat, but there are always going to be whales out there who will buy multiple great white shark or what are they called? Megalodon cards,
Megalodon,
the biggest ones.
it
Yeah, multiple Megalodon cards every week. It's not really about the amount of money that they cost or how much people are spending, but how many of them they're going to buy, and how much you need to buy multiple of them to stay either competitive or just to stay, you know, relevant.
Yeah. It's I mean, I buy the odd thing, but not that many. And some things just don't make sense to me to buy. Like I'll buy the odd skin. I think I bought the um, Destiny stuff in Fall Guys a few months ago. Um, Probably a couple of things. Oh, I bought the GTR skin a couple of years ago now in Rocket League. You know, stuff like that. But for stuff that, you know, some stuff it just baffles me that people would pay for it.
Well, like, everyone's going to have a different opinion on that kind of thing, but I think what you're talking about, in my opinion, is a bit more normal,
Yeah,
a bit more acceptable. I remember years ago on the PlayStation 3 that Little Big Planet did collaborations with like every other video game out there at the time, and I wouldn't have called those microtransactions because people probably just purchased the skins for their favorite characters, and they were only $2 or $3 each, and if
yeah.
you're only buying a few of those.
But you see, I would have called that more of a microtransaction than probably I would, this armor in Diablo 4 that realistically, I don't know the full details on the armor itself, but it's probably just the skin.
Yeah, look, I don't know if it's not just cosmetic and it is fairly meta, then I would absolutely call it a
Yeah,
microtransaction, because if they're consistently releasing things that become meta and there's like a power creep, then if you're going to stay competitive at the top of that game, then you're probably going to have to keep purchasing those things again and again and again. And it becomes even worse when they start putting those things in loot boxes, and you have to be purchasing
oh yeah,
a lot of loot boxes just to get that meta item.
yeah, like Overwatch used to do, which was, yeah. I'm glad I haven't picked that game up for a while.
FIFA Ultimate Team.
Yeah. Get me started. Do not get me started. All right. The next item on the agenda, something that I sent through to you the other day, Virtual Bamboo Grove. Now, if you haven't had a look at this, jump on YouTube, go have a look at this. This video is stunning and completely made in Unreal Engine 5. What were your thoughts on it, Stu, when I sent it through to you?
Yeah, look, it's quite short, and obviously a huge amount of work's probably been put into it, because I don't think all of these textures are made in like SpeedTree, like a lot of developers would use when making outdoor environments in video games. So that probably a lot of it is handmade. But yeah, it looks incredibly impressive, and it just goes to show, in my opinion, how much of a difference really good quality lighting and ray tracing can make, and that is the power of Unreal Engine 5, as we've seen in several demos
Yeah.
so far. I assume you've seen those Matrix
Yeah.
demos in Unreal Engine 5,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what's that other one? There was that game, that first-person shooter game that someone started making in there that looked like it was pretty much a body cam, didn't it?
Yeah.
Unreal. And that is not a pun. That is just the way I talk, unfortunately. My world is filled with puns. Yeah, like I showed it to a few people, and they thought it was video footage, and the way that rain looks. And a lot of credit's got to go to the person that made it, or the people that made it, for knowing how a camera moves and being able to, you know, really hit the nail on the head to make it look as much like a video as possible to try and, don't know if fool people's the right word, but definitely to show the potential that this engine really has. And I can't wait to see more and more and more of what this engine does and what's next after this engine. Because
Absolutely. I mean, as with anything, like an engine is just a set of tools, and it still comes down to the creators behind it
yeah,
to, get the most out of those tools. Video game engines, particularly Unreal Engine, is making a lot more of the process automated for developers, but that allows them to then show their creativity in other ways to put more of their energy towards things such as what you talked about, how the camera moves,
yeah,
stuff like that. And yeah, it will be, you're right, it'll be really interesting to see the directions that developers can take this stuff nowadays. And it's just great that with Unreal Engine that these really powerful tools are becoming democratized.
yeah, yeah. So big things ahead in that space. Our next subject. What's your thoughts on cheaters in video games?
um does anyone like cheaters? I mean, apart from people who actually do it.
Well, definitely not in the case of Ubisoft and Activision. Now, obviously, Activision have been fighting for years to try and get cheaters out of Call of Duty, but obviously with little success, as most cheaters just move from account to account
Yep.
to get past their bans. So they're trying to come up with better ways, and one of the ways they've come up with at the moment is that cheaters will now see hallucination NPCs that apparently act like real players. I'll wait to see if that actually, if they do look like real players, because I've never seen an NPC that moves like a real player. But yeah, this will be very, very interesting. Their theory is that they will see these hallucination NPCs and spend their time in the game trying to take those out and leave the real players more time to try and get them out. Obviously, they won't be flagged as cheaters, but if they're dealing with an NPC over here, obviously someone might come in and get them out from behind. So, it's an interesting way to deal with it.
It's creative. I'm not sure it will work all that effectively, to be honest. But I suppose maybe part of the idea is that even if it only works one out of every 10 times, that you've kind of you've humiliated the cheater a little bit
Yeah.
for that one time that you fooled them.
Yeah, and especially if they're streaming it as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Now, there was one story that I didn't send you through in the notes and stuff, but Ubisoft have got a new game that's in closed beta. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there are already websites online selling cheats for it. So that tells me a couple of things. One, that game is going to be quite popular, and it's a game that they're looking at to go up against Call of Duty. So, and playing that sort of Warzone sort of big open battleground space, which will be quite interesting. And the other thing that it tells me is that we've just got to be probably a little bit better on who they let into their betas.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if people are getting in there and going, all right, well, this is what we need, blah, blah, creating a mod. But then, even if they don't get into the beta, there's probably ways around that where they can get source code and all of that anyway. So
Yeah, I don't really know how they can get around that. Like, I don't know how you can screen people effectively to reduce that from happening.
yeah, yeah. No, you're right. And as I started saying it, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is a stupid thing to say.
But also maybe it can work in the developer's favor because they can see how people are exploiting and finding cheats for the game, and then they can then program those exploits out of the game before launch. So they can use it as sort of, market research, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I mean, if people are making cheats for it and they can do that, then brilliant. But, like I said, the fact that there is a demand and obviously a supply while it's in closed beta says this game's probably going to hit. It might be worth having a look at. I'll see if I can find the name of it by the end of the show. But I think it was Ubisoft Paris. Their officers got swatted last month by a player that had been banned over 80 times out of Rainbow Six. And rather than going, you know what, I'm in the wrong here, he got pissed off and swatted them, and has been given 3 years community service over the incident. Like, at what point do you go, I'm in the right here, and go and do something like that?
I don't understand it. I mean, I think there's a bit of a flaw in the justice system there that allows that kind of thing to happen, and you hear so many bad stories about people getting swatted.
People have been killed on it.
Yeah, it's awful how that kind of thing can happen. But yeah, equally, you're right. Like the arrogance of this guy to think that he could be in the right there. That's not to say that everyone who gets banned deserves it. Definitely not.
Yeah, admittedly,
it goes both ways. But if you've been banned that many times, it's probably for a good reason.
Yeah, and if you'd done a couple of things wrong, and you were trying to go legitimate, as if you want to put it that way, then go plead your case with them. This is going to do nothing for you.
Yeah,
this is going to put you on a lifetime ban.
Exactly. Like I've been like banned on Twitter before, and I think on Instagram before, just because they now have AI systems that are meant to detect accounts that aren't real or that kind of thing, and they occasionally get it wrong and just ban real accounts. You appeal it, you get your account back. Usually.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. If you just plead your case and you are innocent, you would usually be fine.
Yeah, but obviously this guy rather took the extreme route.
You're not kidding.
Yeah. Thoughts on facial recognition for parent control?
Regarding
this
specifically?
Well, this comes from a statement made by the ESRB, which is the regulatory commission, I guess you'd say, over in the US.
Body.
Body. Yeah. That does the ratings. So they want to bring in facial recognition as parent control on video games. Now, when this first got mentioned, people were like, "Oh no, they're going to take photos of kids," but that's not the case. Not the case
No.
at all.
No.
So it's basically a case of me as a parent would have to go on there, put my face on. Yes, it's okay for my kid to play this game. How do you feel about that?
My opinion is always that it should ultimately be the choice of the parent whether or not a child is allowed to play a particular video game, and that if they have no issue with their child playing an M-rated or R-rated game, they think that their child is mature enough to play that title, then there shouldn't be an issue with that. So I think if the system works, there's nothing wrong with it really. Maybe you could argue that there is a problem with the default being that you're locked out of it, and that you then have to kind of unlock the ability to play that title. But it is just saying that, okay, we're going to give the choice to the parent, and it's going to stop the child from being able to play a title that is rated, out of their age bracket without the consent of their parents, which again maybe isn't a bad thing, because there are probably just as many kids who aren't mature enough to play something like Grand Theft Auto as there are kids who are mature enough that are playing it.
So, okay, two points there. Is it any different, really? I know I'm playing devil's advocate here because I'm in agreement with you. Is it any different to what we already have in the form of a pin code, though? Really? And
But
yeah, go on.
those systems require it to be set up by the parent in advance.
And this would
And
have to as well. By
yes, it would,
sounds of
but
it.
I think the current pin code system is a bit complicated,
Yeah.
at least in what I've experienced. I certainly know the one on PlayStation is really complex and slow to use. It just not a great experience.
No.
So if they can find a way to make this experience positive for parents and for kids, then I see that as an improvement.
Yeah. My other point would be that, okay, this facial recognition's there. What if you're in the case like I'm in, where, okay, my daughter's out there, she's got her games, but I'm not home. She is. And she decides she's going to come in here and go, oh, I want to play that game. And picks up Resident Evil 6.
Yep.
Or picks up Mortal Kombat 11.
Yep.
Games that, okay, I'm obviously talking a few years down the track. She only turns three tomorrow, but maybe at the age of 6 or 7, she comes in, grabs one of those games, whacks it in. Now she has the ability to play it without that parental control on there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how this would work, whether or not you would need that facial recognition like every time that you want to open up the game, or just the first time that you want to play it, or what. It could also be that you could, if you've got a separate account on your console for your child, and all of the other accounts are pin code locked, so they can only get into their account. And then every game that is M-rated or above needs facial recognition every time you start it up, for example, then that would work.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure whether it'd be on the console or the computer, or whether it would be on the game. You'd think if it's the regulatory ratings commission body, whatever it is, that they're probably going to be looking at putting it on the games rather than the actual console.
Yeah, but it would be something that would be enforced through law that there would have to be some kind of communication between um, the console manufacturers and the publishers.
Yeah. And again,
That,
like
for
I'm only
example, when
playing.
you start a particular game, it brings up a certain prompt on the console to, do a facial recognition thing.
And again, I'm only playing devil's advocate. Like I agree. Like if your child's mature enough and you think they're good to play that game, then by all means, parents' discretion. But sometimes you think they're not, and kids find a way to get around it anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like I said, kid might just come in and pick up Far Cry 6. Sometimes it can't be
I
helped.
I think generally though, like us two are in favor of, um, you know, uh, kids being able to play mature games and being
Yeah.
exposed to more mature media from a younger age. That's not going to be relevant to every child because some parents will know or will be of the opinion that their child shouldn't be exposed to that stuff, and that
Yeah.
is totally their right to have that opinion. But I think we played the Resident Evil 1 when I was 4 years old, I
Yeah.
think, and I don't think that had any negative effect on me.
Not on you. Me watching Demolition Man at the age of 5 might have had a negative effect on me.
Right,
Watching those
right.
spikes come out the wall and impale a few people was a little bit traumatizing at times. But yeah, look, like I said, I'm all for everyone knows their kids. Parents' discretion, that's where it's at.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
now, our next part Simpsons Hit and Run remake.
Mm.
Now, this might get everyone a little bit excited to hear that this remake has happened. But, to break all your hearts, it is fan made and can't be released due to all the copywriting and everything like that. Now, this game has been. The entire world is finished by. I can't remember if there's only one developer or a group of them. I think it might be a group of them. They haven't added all the other stuff, missions, all that sort of stuff in yet. But my question for you, Stu, is if you were Disney, you know the fans want a remake of this game, you hear about this, do you not just go to them and go, here's the money to finish the game off?
100%. I was going to use the case of the GTA trilogy here, where a few years ago, the fan created mods for the original GTA trilogy games, GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, were incredible.
Yeah,
Some of them really were absolutely amazing. And then the official remake that came out just paled in comparison
shambles.
to to the fan made versions. The fan made versions, the mods for the original games are so much better. And in the process, they put through, cease and desist stuff, DMCA to all of these mods to get them taken down, so people can't use them anymore. So that people had to go and pay to play the official remake that was nowhere near as good. Wouldn't it have just been better
Yeah,
if Rockstar or Take Two went to these creators and said, here, have some money so we can buy the rights to your mod and we can incorporate the quality of your work into our remake.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is the same case here. They should just, I mean, really, for the amount of money that they have, and the amount of money it would cost them to pay these creators, I'm sure these fans making this would be delighted to sell their work to to the official developers,
Yeah. Like to
or,
me,
or, or to work with them, to be hired and work with them,
yeah. Yep.
to get a job with these people.
I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about from the fan side anyway about getting a remake of Simpsons Hit and Run, and I don't think it'll probably ever happen. Personally, not with the Simpsons obviously changing hands and now being a Disney cartoon, weirdly. But yeah, I for me it'd be a no-brainer if you're over at Disney and you heard about this. You'd be like, all right, well, let's say it's going to cost us 50 mil to make this game, and then go drop 10 mil into these guys' lap and make ourselves a butt ton of money.
Yeah,
For
I think
a fraction of the price.
most of the time these big companies just have too much pride, and they assume that they can do it better for less money, and they just can't.
Not at all.
Certainly not for less money.
No. And that's been shown time and time again. Like, yeah, okay, like you're paying for your equipment and all that, but what you end up really paying for, a lot of these guys making mods and stuff like that, is your time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my headset just died. So I'm now going to have to try and plug this in. While we do that, what have we got on here that I can get Stu to talk about to start with? Ba-dum. What about the one what you brought up? The price drop for the PS.
Yeah. So this is fairly new news, but the PlayStation 5 has dropped in price a little bit in some countries. In other countries, it's dropped by a fair bit. Here in Australia, we're only seeing about a $10 price drop at the moment in Australian dollars, which is nothing significant, but it's dropped as much as £75 in the United Kingdom and $50 in the United States. And I think it was even more euros in Germany. 75 euros in Germany. So yeah, it's good to see it going back down in price after it increased in price last year. So yeah, that's if you're in a country where there's been a price drop, it'd be worth going and checking that out. I believe that that price drop is on Amazon and directly from Sony on their online store.
Did you note how much our price drop here in Australia was?
Yeah, I did mention that.
Whole $10. Woo!
Yeah.
Well, on that note, rumours and reports coming around saying that the new Switch and the PS5 Pro will be next year. It very much seems a lot of places, especially high up, GameSpot, IGN, now seem to be leaning towards us getting a new Switch next year.
Yep.
And obviously the PS5 Pro seems to be all but confirmed as well.
Yeah, it's a very interesting one because the rumors for a long time have been that it will be a PS5 Slim rather than a PS5 Pro. And there were those rumors about there being a kind of modular sort of thing going on with the next PS5.
Yeah.
So I think, to be honest, I think it's all just rumors at the moment, but we'll see.
To be honest, I think it's going to be a hybrid of the two.
Could be.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a slimmer version with better tech.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the tech that's in the PS5 is great, um, or was great for the price a couple of years ago, you can just build a more powerful gaming PC with that amount of money now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that if they are going to release a new model for a similar-ish price, they do need to not just make it slimmer, but upgrade some of the tech in there a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely. Discord will soon be allowing us to stream from Xbox. So that will be interesting. And whether or not I've got to set up 2 different OBS's. Oh, hang on. What's happened here? You still there?
Can you? Yeah, I'm still, I'm still here.
My screens have gone black.
All right,
I don't know
right.
what's
That's
happened.
it's not ideal.
Uh-huh. 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 I don't know how to get it back.
This might
Oh,
be a
no.
bit that we have to edit out.
No. I'm an idiot. Here I am, stressing and thinking that
Oh, it's just gone to screen. It's just gone to screensaver because
Yeah.
you didn't move.
Yeah. Yep. I've had that many issues with this computer today that I was stressing. I'm like, what's going on? No! In saying that, I'm looking over at my PC right now and my capture card is flashing at me saying that it's full. But I don't know how it's full because I'm not recording to the capture card. So maybe that's where the issue was earlier today when I was streaming.
Right.
I think that's what it means when it flashes red, from memory. I'll have to look that up later. My biggest fears for Assassin's Creed have come to fruition. Assassin's Creed
Yes,
Mirage is only going to be 20 hours long. Why?
Look, I think you're making a big deal about nothing here. I reckon the first Assassin's Creed game was probably only that long, if not less.
Yeah, but it was on the
And
PS3.
yeah,
It's a
but
long time
it's
ago.
about quality over quantity, surely.
Oh, don't get me wrong. But
I can think of plenty of games with stories that are 15 to 20 hours that are better
Yep.
than some games that have, 50-hour long stories.
I won't disagree there. And I'm not going to disagree with this. But you've got to remember, it's been 2 years since we've had an Assassin's Creed game. And that game was like 140 hours long. And we've waited 2 years to get a 20-hour story campaign.
Yeah, I get
ends,
it. But,
opposite ends of the spectrum. I
mean,
didn't
in
want,
my opinion, sorry, go on.
I didn't want the 140 hours. I just wanted it to be more than 20.
Yeah.
Like even 30 hours. Like 20 hours, I can almost do in one session. I want it to at least last a couple of days. Like, do I want to be
Right.
sitting there for a month playing it? No. Not when it's so close to Spider-Man. But at the same time, I don't want to finish it before Spider-Man comes out. Or too much before Spider-Man comes out.
Right.
Do you
Right.
know what I mean? Although I think they might come out on the same day. Might have to check
Did
that.
they mention whether this is just time to complete, or whether
It
that's a...
said the story will be 20 hours, 20 to 23 hours long.
So that probably means that if you are doing the story plus some extras, that
I
it's going
don't
to be
think
closer
there's
to
going to be a
30.
huge amount of extras.
And if you're a bit of a completionist, that it might take you 35, 40.
I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of extras, to be honest with you. I could be wrong on that, but if it's sticking true to more of the original games, I don't think there'll be.
I mean, 2 still had heaps of collectibles and stuff that would take you, God knows, an additional
Yeah, I
10, 15
suppose.
hours to get. If you care about that stuff, which we both did back in the day.
Yeah, and I still do. Okay, so Assassin's Creed comes out on the 12th. One and 2, PS5. Oh, crap. I'm having a great day. I just dropped me notes. What's the release date? Release date. Spider-Man. 20th, so it's 8 days. 8 days between the two. So, I mean, as long as I don't do it in 2 sittings, which hopefully I won't, because we'll have other stuff. We'll have FC24 and a few other bits and pieces in there to play. So, I mean, I suppose it's my preference, my personal preference. But
for my preference, I don't think that the more recent Assassin's Creed games are any better for having 120, 140 hours of content. I'm not saying that they're worse, but I don't think all of that extra content really improves them.
I think they're 2 very different styles of game.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And, some people will be more in favor of the RPG elements, and some people will be in favor of more of a linear story experience. I happen to fall into the latter category. And I think you may be a bit more of the former, but
Yeah, as much as I love the Assassin's games, and I do want them to continue doing the original style, like this Mirage, I think it needs to break up. So having, maybe like Call of Duty does, where, there'll be one from one studio 1 year.
yeah.
So then they've got 2 years to work on that game. And then the following year, we get the big RPG one.
Yeah, I mean, that would keep both sets of fans happy, I suppose.
I mean, I'd buy
I
both of
guess
them, regardless.
guess
But
you also have to remember with the first couple of Assassin's Creed games, at least, that even though those stories weren't really, really long, they had multiple cities that were all a bit different to really make you feel like
the game was
there
bigger than it
was.
was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're right. Oh well, we'll see. We haven't got long to wait, but we will see. Now, before we get into the bracket, 2 things I want to talk about. Personal things. The first one, to all the lovely friends of the Switched On Squad and members of the Switched On Squad, there is a nice, lovely surprise coming your way to one of you. And I'm not telling you which one it is. I love a good prank. And I've selected by hand one of you to receive something this Friday. And no doubt, come Saturday, when we have my daughter's birthday party, and you're all there, that one of you will have a nice story to tell. We will talk about that next week on the podcast. And if you want a more up-to-date following of that story, go follow us on TikTok at Switched On Squads. Because I'll be posting the video. And let's just say I got some information today that just made it even funnier. All of it will come out by Saturday night. There'll be a video up on TikTok. Don't you worry.
I don't know whether to look forward to this or not.
All I'm going to say is you are included in the pool of people that I hand selected. So
yeah,
you could be the lucky person.
That's why I said what I said.
But yeah. If you get the chance to do this prank, it's very easy to do as well. It is well worth it. Well worth it. Anyway, the second point, I gave in. I've said on this podcast before how much I hate this game, but I gave in. And I went and played Fortnite. And I have a 100% record of wins. Just saying. I did get carried, I will admit, by our other brother. Good friend of the show.
How many games did you play for that 100% record?
2. 2 games, 2 wins. 2 games, 2 wins. That's what I'm saying. In duos, still got the wins. Better than the 800 hours that he's put into the game and only has 300 wins. Or nearly 400. I put 1 hour into the game. 2 games, 2 wins. Champion. Retire now.
Yeah, quit while you're on top, mate.
Yeah. But it did give me an idea while I was playing around in all the other modes that we might set up some challenges as a group, as the Switched On Squad. That we might find some obscure games and some well-known parts in the created section of Fortnite and set some time challenges and make some videos with the loser doing forfeits. So if you want to see that content, again, check out our socials, but definitely head over and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Switched On Squad, because there'll be videos going up there. We'll probably make one over between now and not by the time this episode comes out, but by the time the next episode comes out.
What kind of forfeits did you have in mind?
I haven't quite thought that far ahead yet. But it's got to be something, obviously, with you being, an hour and a bit away, that I've... so it'd probably depend. It'd depend on who the forfeit's for. But I might do a bit of digging on what I can come up with over the next few days, and then we'll go from there. So if it's you, it might be, I don't know, you got to do a shot of hot sauce or something like that, because it's something you can do on camera. We can even get you doing it on the podcast.
Ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, something stupid like that, or you've got to post something out on your social media.
Yeah.
But we get to write it or something like that. If it's someone like Blowy, then it might be a case of me filming something like kicking a soccer ball or football at his ass, or hitting him with a golf ball from a certain distance from a driver. Which he could be.
This could get dangerous.
He could be standing 2 meters away from me, and I would spray it. Absolutely spray it.
Yeah.
Or,
actually, I don't think he's in danger at all.
Yeah, exactly. Or the tennis ball and the tennis racket. You know what I mean? Something like that. I probably won't do that to him right at the moment, especially considering he's done his knee. Probably wouldn't look good for work cover. So I'd probably do something along the same lines for him until he is recovered and back at work, providing it doesn't injure him again. So that's what we have coming up. Now, for what we already have going on, it's our bracket for 1994, baby. Let's go. All right. I still actually haven't picked mine for this week.
Oh, wow.
I am still fighting.
Are you tossing up between a few?
I am fighting between 3.
Wow.
And I do not know. All right, I'm going to rule that one out, and I'm going to rule that one out. So, there we go. Made my choice. Made my choice. Well, I'll explain when I get to them. Okay, so for 1994, we have a couple of things that happened that year to mention first of all. The original PlayStation released in Japan in 1994. The company Neversoft, known for developing the very first Tony Hawk games over at Activision, was founded. And Blizzard Entertainment was renamed from Silicon and Synapse. So there's some major little things that happened in 94. Now onto our picks for the gaming. Releases for that year: XCOM, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I feel like every year there's been a Sonic game so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is actually the first year we haven't had a Super Mario game. Or some form of Mario.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We also had Super Metroid. We had the Elder Scrolls Arena, Final Fantasy VI, King of Fighters 94, Need for Speed, Mortal Kombat 2, Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, which was one of the ones I was fighting up against. But, there's other games in that series that I think are better.
Yeah.
That's something we're going to have to discuss as well. I'll get to that in a minute. And Tekken, which was the other choice that I was fighting in my head with. But my choice this week, as it is games that we love, and this one, I loved this TV show as a kid, even though it probably wasn't quite intended for kids for the most part, and loved the video game. It was a platformer. It was hard as hell. I still can't do it to this day. I still haven't completed it. Maybe I just suck at games. And my pick is Earthworm Jim.
Oh, great choice.
Just
Great
whipping
choice.
whipping himself out of his spacesuit
Yeah.
to swing around off bits of garbage, and that song will never leave my head from the opening theme. Now, what was your choice?
Well, I've gone for a platformer as well. We had a bit of a mention of Sonic games before. There were actually 2 Sonic games that were released in 94. And I've gone for what I think is the better of the 2, which is not Sonic the Hedgehog 3, but Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, I loved this game. And of course, it was iconic because you could open the top of the game up and put Sonic 2 or Sonic 3
Yeah,
into it
that's correct. Yeah.
and play those games as Knuckles.
Hmm.
Absolutely fantastic. I think it was one of the very first video games I was bought brand new
Right.
in the box. I reckon I got it for my birthday that year.
Hmm.
Maybe that year or 95. But
It's such a what you just mentioned. It's such a clever hardware thing that
yeah.
we just don't get to experience that sort of thing
No.
anymore.
And Sega had a real habit of doing that sort of stuff as well. Like you had
Yeah.
the Master System converter that plugged into the top of the Mega Drive, which let you play the Master System games on the Mega Drive, and
Hmm.
they also did it with was it the Sega CD? They did something similar with that you could put something on top.
Not sure.
I'm pretty sure there was something. Let us know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure there was something with the Sega CD or the Sega Saturn that you could put it on top of something or something on top of it. Maybe not the Saturn because the Saturn opened from the top. But I'm pretty sure the Sega CD, maybe the Mega Drive connected together and the CD went under the Mega Drive. But yeah, some great choices there. So I've just got the Earthworm Jim theme song playing in my head now, just constantly.
Yeah.
I'm just watching that super suit falling. Anyway, that's besides the point. We are going to be live as normal for our Friday night FIFA sessions. There's not many games left to go, or sessions to go before the end of the season, and before we move on to FC24, where obviously we will be jumping over to the new content and trying it out. I will be getting early, setting up everything, which I'll do live on stream. Probably do a few Ultimate Team things for the first time on stream, and probably the last time as well. Only because I'm pre-ordering it, and I'll get some free bucks, some FIFA bucks that I can just go spend willy-nilly, and then never look at that mode in the game ever again. So come and join us on that stream. Obviously, we're going to have a few more that we'll try and get up. We might not go live, but we'll definitely have videos going up over on YouTube and on the socials. So go across and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, where we will be... I've just completely munted that up, but who cares? I can edit it out or I can leave it in. It's not going to make any difference either way.
Leave it as it is.
Yeah, leave it as it is. We all make mistakes. But yeah, don't forget, like, follow, subscribe. Links are in the bios. Go jump over there. Even if you just go on, like it, and turn us on mute. It helps us out, helps us grow, helps more people find us. Just help us, please. Don't make me cry. Anyway, that's all for us from this week.
That's got to be the thumbnail, by the way.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, right. Yeah. Why do I have to do these things? I'm just going to send you like screenshots of all this week where you can just make thumbnails out of all of them. Because anyway, it has been a pleasure, guys. We will see you next week. We'll also, before I forget, now live on Google Podcast and Amazon Music and Audible. So if you don't use Spotify, you don't want to look at us on YouTube, you can find us over there. Alright guys, that's all from us. I will see you next week.
Catch you next time.
See you guys.